And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, it is no secret that one candidate, yes, Vice President Kamala Harris, is planning to raise taxes on all of you. But just moments ago, Donald Trump unveiled a new plan to cut taxes for the hardest working Americans who don't clock out at 5 o'clock. Pretty amazing. I haven't worked an 8-hour day in most of my life. Take a look.
I'm also announcing that as part of our additional tax cuts, we will end all taxes on overtime. You know what that means? Think of that. Think of that.
We'll have much more on President Trump's economic vision. That's coming up tonight. But first, we are only 54 days away from the 2024 election. Pennsylvania voting, that begins in, just a mere 5 days. In Alabama, the first ballots are officially in the mail. More than a dozen states, including swing states like Wisconsin, they are scheduled to send out ballots later this month. We are in the home stretch of a race that will impact the course of our country for decades to come. It is an inflection point for this country. And as most of you know, Donald Trump isn't just facing off against Kamala Harris. He is running against what are vicious, powerful institutions and a political machine that spans the Democratic Party. They're running against the state-run, corrupt Pravda media mob, a powerful deep state with bureaucrats in every department of your federal government, a weaponized Department of Justice. Oh, and to add insult to injury, he's running against big tech, too. They're all putting cinder blocks on the scale of an election. Now, the same political machine that booted Joe Biden from the ballot after he won millions of votes. Well, that same political machine has been trying to destroy Donald Trump for the better part of an entire decade, and yet the polls tonight are close. Donald Trump is holding on to a 60% edge in today's forecast from statistician Nate Silver. The latest Insider Advantage poll post-debate has Donald Trump up by 1 in Michigan with a boost from African-American voters. In Pennsylvania, the race is very, very close, tied. One poll had Trump up by 2 recently. Meanwhile, the lawfare against President Trump, that continues after all those years. You know, one after another. It's like dominoes falling. They all fall apart. If Democrats and Biden's DOJ had their way, Trump would be in jail right now. But they're not getting their way. You know, thankfully, we have checks and balances in our court system. But today, 2 more criminal counts against Donald Trump, this in the Fulton County case in Georgia, were dismissed by a Fulton County judge. So far, 5 of the original 13 charges by Fani Willis have been dismissed before trial as the entire case remains in jeopardy. In fact, every case against Trump is falling apart. And as Politico points out, well, Democrats underestimate Trump at their own peril. His opponent, Kamala Harris, is running the most dishonest, least authentic campaign in human history. During the debate, she lied and lied repeatedly, dozens of times, about a national sales tax that Trump has never supported and doesn't support, about he'll sign a nationwide abortion ban that Donald Trump has never supported, will never support, a ban on IVF when he has actually been in favor of IVF, and that nobody, by the way, wants, and, quote, Donald Trump's Project 2025, that Trump had absolutely nothing to do with, hasn't read, by the way, for the record, nor have I. She also lied and brought out the hits. Let's bring up Charlottesville. She lied about Trump's role in January 6th, lied about fracking, lied about oil, lied about her support for the Minnesota Bail Fund, lied about Trump's bloodbath comments on the economy, lied about Trump's position on NATO, lied about 0 troops serving in combat zones, lied about Trump's role in the Biden-Harris administration and their disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. How do you blame Donald Trump for that? Lied about gun confiscation. She said it repeatedly. Lied about her support for defunding the police. She said that, too. She even lied about being a middle-class kid. In reality, she grew up in one of the most prestigious neighborhoods in Montreal, 2 very affluent parents. She lied about violent crime along with her 2 supporters at the debate that were masquerading as journalists. No, they're liberal, radical, left Democratic talk show hosts, and they said that violent crime was down. No, it's not. By the way, ABC, Disney, Bob Iger, take note, because your network run by Disney, got it wrong. Look at the data from the DOJ. Violent crime is up 37% under the Harris-Biden administration. Rape in America is up 42%. Robbery is up 63%. Assault is up a whopping 34%. And stranger violence up 61%. Violent crime with a weapon, that's up 63%. Motor vehicle theft up a whopping 42%. And the list goes on. But the lies don't stop there. Kamala lied today, claiming that Donald Trump wants to cut Medicare. A complete lie and falsehood. But Kamala's most egregious lies, frankly, are about herself. We have her, in her own words, on record. By the way, it's all on the Kamala files at Hannity.com. And we have the Walls files, too, if you're interested in her VP selection, a radical Bernie Sanders governor. Anyway, for decades, she was to the left of Bernie Sanders, eagerly supporting. She was a co-sponsor of the Marxist legislation, the $93 trillion Green New Deal, which would eliminate capitalism, the greatest source of wealth creation ever designed by man, if ever implemented. And she co-sponsored with Bernie, government health care for all, and by the way, free for illegal immigrants. She promoted open borders, taxpayer-funded housing, health care, education, and even, now, slow down on this, for illegal immigrants and for convicted felons. Do you really want your money to go to sex change operations for people that don't respect our laws, our sovereignty, our borders, or people convicted of crimes? Because Kamala Harris has supported it. And this was when she was running for president. She wanted to defund the police, dismantle, reimagine them, defund ICE, reimagine ICE, put violent criminals back on the street with zero bail. Supported that Minnesota bail fund 4 days after burning down the Minneapolis police precinct and releasing rioters and insurrectionists, in case you're paying attention in Washington tonight, in the summer of 2020. And of course, she was a big supporter of federal gun confiscation, mandatory. That's what it is. But the very moment she was elevated to a candidate, her positions all changed overnight, or at least that's what she wants you to believe. How about you decide?
Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away, so stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
I support buybacks.
How mandatory is your gun buyback program?
It's mandatory.
I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as Vice President, private health care options.
You support the Medicare for All bill, I think initially
Correct.
co-sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders. You're also a co-sponsor
Yes.
on it. I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance. So for people out there who like their insurance, they don't get to keep it?
Well, listen, the idea is that everyone gets access to medical care. And you don't have to go through the process of going through an insurance company, having them give you approval, going through the paperwork, all of the delay that may require. Who of us has not had that situation where you got to wait for approval and the doctor says, well, I don't know if your insurance company is going to cover this? Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
The United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job.
And I think there's no question that we've got to critically re-examine ICE and its role and the way that it is being administered and the work it is doing. And we need to probably think about starting from scratch.
All right, make no mistake, Kamala didn't suddenly change all of her views and her entire political philosophy overnight. She's lying. Why? To get elected, to get power. And then she will revert to form, no doubt about it. At the debate, she couldn't give a single straight answer, ducking and dodging and weaving every question with the help of two very corrupt, biased ABC Disney moderators. So woke and Democratic supporting Disney is clearly more concerned in electing Kamala than conservatives attending their theme parks or buying any of their products. Is it any wonder Disney's stock it's in the tank if you haven't been looking. I mean, it's lost a lot of value. According to the LA Times, David Muir, Lindsay Davis studied hours of Trump rallies in order to rebut him in real time. Davis telling the Times, quote, the attempt to correct the candidates was in response to the June 27th CNN debate between Trump and President Biden, whose poor performance led to his exit from the race. They couldn't let that happen to Kamala. Well, that's a nice admission, but it does say a lot because they never once corrected Kamala, and we've added up over 25 lies that she told, as did the Federalist and many other fact-checkers. Despite all of this assistance from ABC, Disney, the Woke Network, the Talk Network of liberal, radical, leftist, Democratic talk show hosts, even Fake Jake, our old friend over at Fake News CNN, he was even less than impressed with Kamala's performance. Look at this.
Despite the economy being the #1 issue facing the country, the sitting vice president generally reverted to talking points about a few of her policy proposals. Even Harris allies today are saying that she needs to talk more about what she will do for Americans if elected. On the border, another vulnerable issue for Harris, she also dodged.
Would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings.
Okay, that wasn't the question.
I may have to stop calling him Fake Jake. I mean, she was like a robot. I don't care what you ask, I'll go right to my rehearsed lines. Keep in mind, Tuesday's debate was only the second time in the entire campaign that Kamala said more than 2 or 3 sentences without a teleprompter. There has been just one joint interview, a whopping 16 minutes and 29 seconds of speaking, and she did bring her emotional support running mate, and no pressers, no town halls, 0 solo interviews. Even photographers in the press are reportedly complaining about a, quote, unprecedented reduction in access to the news media. One top Democrat is hoping it stays that way, urging Harris to stay away, whatever you do, stay away from her adoring fans in the state-run media mob. Maybe not bad advice if you don't care about the American people and them being informed.
I think that just to say have one-on-one discussions with people in the media will not necessarily connect with the voters. I want to see her connecting with voters, responding to their dreams and their aspirations. Because, you know, if you go on these one-on-ones, sometimes you drill down into a question until there's a word that's uttered that can be used in a negative way.
In other words, Democratic advice, hide Kamala, hide. Bernie Sanders, he said the quiet part out loud. She's not changing her positions. She's only being pragmatic to win an election. He's not lying here. Take a look.
You have described Vice President Kamala Harris as a progressive. She has previously supported Medicare for all. Now she does not. She's previously supported a ban on fracking. Now she does not. These, Senator, are ideas that you have campaigned on. Do you think that she is abandoning her progressive ideals?
No, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election.
I'll say what I need to say just to win the election. I'm not, if it means lying, sure. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.